All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and make a video on this because I know it's gonna be expected. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna go ahead and be proactive. So um, Billy Carson finally get what I'm saying lined up. He caught that fade that he was looking for. You know, for those who may be aware already, Billy Carson been he switched sides. He done been compromised and for those who are unaware, Billy Carson has been an individual who's been on a search for truth. And through much knowledge, he has puffed himself up. Sounds a little bit like Ezekiel chapter 27, 28, right? Um, Billy Carson is the author of something called the Emerald Tablets, the translations thereof. He read various different translations of the Emerald Tablets. And he liked it the one where the guy said, there's just he was led to Egypt and he just found and discovered them, right? Blah blah blah. In this book, he allures you as if he believes that um Jesus is the Messiah, and a great God. And he felt like either Jesus is Thoth or the father of Thoth, which is supposed to be a Greek Egyptian god with the Greek name, all fallacy. Then so I'm gonna go ahead and explain to you like this. I'm just gonna get straight to it. Billy's been under a lot of pressure from various different principalities and entities. Billy has a great amount of knowledge. And that's the black guy right here, for those of you who don't know. He has a great amount of knowledge. And he has learned and discovered that there's other advanced beings that exist out here. He's on point with that. And he speaks on all of these subject matters, which is what caused him to get into trouble, with where he accepted trouble. It wouldn't be trouble if you have a different perspective, like I could do all things to Christ. It's just trials and tribulations. It's not trouble, it's a good thing. But for Billy, Billy didn't do all of his studies. Billy's one of those who drifted into various different beliefs. Never really would say that Jesus was his foundation, but he drifted all into these dark spaces. I'd say that much. And when he began to talk about the Anunnaki, that's when Billy found himself in a lot of challenges. Mars and the Anunnaki. That's when he got a problem. There's certain principalities that did not want him to make the movie with Damon Dash about the Anunnaki. It was supposed to drop. All of a sudden, the movie did not drop because he was about to expose so much stuff about the Anunnaki because these are real entities. Billy has exposed a lot about Mars that is actually factual. To show that a lot of these stories and lies that they try to cover up, them not knowing life exists over there. There's civilization, there's water, there's this, there's that. The color, the coloration of red, the saturation of the color of the plant they show in the pictures has been all edited. Yeah, he proves that. Then all of a sudden you see all these white guys. They got these round heads. Don't look like these kind of white guys. The only thing they got in common is that they're white, but their structures are a little bit different. All of a sudden, you got these short little white guys, really kind of red white guys, right? And everything changes. No more putting emphasis on the Anunnaki. No more putting emphasis on the Mars. Let's begin to just tack the Bible. Let us just begin to shoot at the Bible. Let us begin to stray people away from the Bible. Now, after he made this book, you know, he gained this great following of people that's just like, oh yeah, Jesus, Billy loved Jesus, blah blah blah, woody woody wop. Okay, the Bible just is misrepresenting Jesus. Da, da, da. You know, for the unlearned, for a lot of unlearned, that can be scary. For a lot of the foolish unlearned, that could be luring enough to move them onto a strange path. And so he finally gets addressed as the Antichrist he became by choice. And he gets G-checked through this thing. Like he just get ran through his whole house rearranged, just flipped up and down, right? Like there was no competition. And it was quite embarrassing, but I'm not really surprised because he never came off as any kind of renowned scholar of the word. And which also makes it easy for those of us who have sharp analytical skills to see that, or at least entertain the idea that he was pressured to begin to attack the Bible, because he was never a person that used to speak vehemently against the Bible. He would actually begin to just expose these different occults, and more specifically that there's other advanced life out here and they've been trying to enslave people on planet Earth. He never was an individual who was an antagonist against the hero of planet Earth, which is the king of all the earth, King Jesus, the king of kings. Suddenly, and this is what I'm saying, he has a Forbidden Knowledge channel. Suddenly you go on forbiddenknowledge.com, you start just look at all his videos where he went to having certain interviews. Now, he always interviewed white guys. Just pay attention when he started to talk about Mars. It comes to a time where there's like, he has to stay in the room while he's having these interviews, almost if he can't make recordings without these guys being on the show with him. You're going to start to see that all of a sudden he has to be in the room with these short kind of white men. They're all short and got round heads. All of a sudden the movie Anunnaki's not coming out. All of a sudden he know nothing about, no more talk about Pleiadians. No more talk about Orion. Let's just begin to blaspheme the word of God. And then now he don't need no more white guy chaperones or whatever they were. All of a sudden now they just disappear. Why ain't they sitting next to him when he's making all these attacks against Jesus? Why they ain't got no questions to say? And you notice this, so you can be with me on this matter for those who are aware, and then those who are going to do their research. Hope all y'all do your research. You're going to notice that once he start watering down his topics about Mars, once those individuals start showing up on the show with him, he started to water down his topics about Mars. He started to water down his topics about the Anunnaki. He started to water down his knowledge. He no longer wanted to go in depth and break down all the parallels and all the connections he understood about the epics of Gilgamesh and the Emerald Tablets and the Enuma Elish and the various of other Assyrian and Semitic writings. He no longer wanted to go into details about none of that no more. None of it seemed to be interesting. It was all like a real common for people who are into that conspiracy theories, because I'm going to tell you like this. When it comes to those particular areas, that man is one of the best. Hands down. I'm not going to take nothing from him in that regards. Like, and he's a defender. He was a defender of that area of truth. But the ultimate truth, God, oh yeah, my man falls short, heavy of the glory. He took the position of a coward. And this is what I'm going to say is the position of a coward. There's two kinds of primary cowards that I kind of focus on in this regards. There's the cowards that know Jesus is Lord and Savior and then compromise that truth because of fear. Then there's the other coward who don't give themselves the chance to find out because some people trying to scare him away. And so he lives with the possibility that I could be denying the one. And I'm going to stop myself from entering into the gates of salvation because of some scary men that I've been talking about all the time. Finally shows up. And see, they don't just show up because you mentioned Mars, you mentioned places, because everybody does that on YouTube. Everybody talk about that. But when you can prove, when you're showing some indisputable truth that this guy, and then he doesn't just use his, like he gets all these, he learns that he has It's like this man been studying for years, collecting all the various of data from different scientists, different geniuses, and parse the information, and then beginning to assimilate the information in a way that you cannot dispute. You can't. You could be the most unlearned in all these areas of science. By the time you're done with it, you're going to know. Which now leads me to another point I was going to point out. This is a highlight. Why couldn't he do the very same thing with the Bible? Yo, if the Bible is see, we're not just talking about any individual. You got to understand when people have falsehood and they got false motives, ulterior motives, and false pretenses. You got to understand it's easy to pick up when individuals don't have genuine motives. They're disingenuous, right? It's kind of easy, especially when you understand the level of scholarship that they have. His level of scholarship in resources, in tools, and connections. He can easily call any, let me get every single manuscript of the Bible ever written. Let me get every story related about Christ ever known. Let me take this, his ability to analyze documents and pay attention to parables and reference points. There's no way in the world he would have been able to miss it. I'm talking about some basic stuff based on this argument. I'm gonna let y'all really watch this whole video. I don't really want to go through this with y'all. Like, it's like, for those who know Billy Carson, you see this, you be like, man, what the, like, I don't, something's going on. Pray for this man. That man seems to be in a situation. There is no fight here. It's like, it's almost like two bigger brothers, like, big brother, big little brother, and little brother. And starting off with the guy in the black shirt all the way to Billy being the little brother. And they're trying to convince the little brother, come on, homies, don't be afraid. That's how this whole, it was supposed to be a debate. This don't even seem like a debate. This seems like a therapy session. Like, Billy, come on. Stop it. It's like, hey, man, I understand, but, you can do all things through Christ. You should fear no one but the Lord. Perfect love cast out fear. Just come on out. We understand. We know we don't war with flesh and blood, but with boogeymans and monsters in high places. But it's okay. Like, this is what it's really given. So I'm saying, I'm really saying, I'm just saying. So I'm gonna go ahead and press play on this little piece, and I'm gonna get to my point, because I want to just show you something real quick in the Bible about how we need to thoroughly study the word. All right.
The 0.1%. You talk about eyewitness accounts convinced you that Christianity is real. There's been eyewitness accounts of every culture that I've visited around this entire planet, and their eyewitness accounts of what they experienced is 100,000% opposite of what's in the Bible. People have based on
what? Something like, come on, bro. For anybody that knows this, man, come on, man. You're disingenuous, bro. It'd be different when he posed the argument about plagiarism. 100,000, 10%. Like, Christianity is just straight up the opposite of truth. There should be no connections and parallels or any form of symmetry. Come on now. Instead, all the ancient world traditions and mythologies align with the Bible. But see, I don't want y'all, see, this is what I'm saying. I want y'all to go back and study him so you can understand the danger that people step in when searching for the truth. Whether you do it walking with Jesus or not walking with Jesus. Truth sets people free. And the principalities want to keep you enslaved. The devil wants to keep you enslaved. Sin leads to bondage, because then it leads to fear, and fear torments in the midst of your bondage. He started stepping on some things like, whoa, that would begin to make people search everything. And when people begin to search everywhere and get into this habits of searching, zero trust until a general consensus of truth, then we trust. There's no way you're going to miss Jesus. Thus, there's no way you're going to miss God. No way. You could begin to start in Pleiades and then trail all the way back down here. There's no way you're gonna miss Jesus. There's no way you're gonna go through that Bruce Codex. There's no way you're gonna go through the two books of you. There's no way you're gonna go through the Gospel of Thomas. There's no way you're gonna go through the book of Enoch. There's no way you're gonna go through the book of Jasher. We can't really, I don't know how thorough people studied the book of war yet, because there'd be different translations they make out of it, probably with AI twisting stuff up or the devils themselves. But there's no way you're going to get through the canticles and the non-canticles that has been authenticated, as well as the Apocrypha. There's no way you're going to get through these ancient texts and don't begin to see Jesus with a different name and not know he's the Lord of Lords. Like, not even just with the historical accounts that he gives, but the personality. When you begin to study from these different worldviews, you can see that they're making, like, they're the guys behind Hollywood. It's their way of, like, you can see that there's this agonistic, like, theatrical movie about Jesus. Like, they're just here trying to exalt themselves again and paint this image and narrative of Jesus because they've been defeated. Like, you can begin to see that, well, we can at least try to make a movie and, make ourselves feel good in our bondage of defeat instead of repenting. And then you got those who ignore the Jesus aspect and just continue on with their own war stories, which is like the Anunnaki and them stories of Tiamat, or if anything, switch it up and make it seem like Jesus is our daddy and but just telling a whole different story. Come on, man. You'll peep it. Go get you the book of Enoch. Go get your Pis Sophia, and you'll begin to just see. But this right here is ludicrous, bro.
What do you mean? Can you give me an example?
The Dogon tribe, for example, in Mali, Africa, they experienced a culture that they claim came to this planet from Sirius B. They have the evidence that they knew these beings were from Sirius B because they have the instruments that show the orbit of a trinary star system that we couldn't discover until the 1970s with our modern technology. Okay, they understood not only the orbital pattern of Sirius A, B, and C, but even that B was a failed star, which you can't see it from Earth with the naked eye. They knew that it was a white dwarf. They even knew that they said that if you took a tablespoon of it, the entire tribe or 1,000 men couldn't lift the tablespoon. They understood mass and gravity as well. They were told the shape, the sizes, and the colors of all the planets in our solar system, which they recorded. And there's only one wisdom keeper, and that person can never be touched by a person. If they get touched by another person, they'd actually be killed. And then they eventually have a mentee that they break down that's verbally handed down knowledge to. And that next person then takes over and becomes the wisdom keeper. And they've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. And science, modern science, has found all their information to be 1,000% accurate. Then you have the Hopi tribe of the Americas, indigenous tribes, Hopi tribe, Lakota tribe, also having engagements with these quote unquote star brothers, even having an account of them being taken underground, which you don't see just only in America. I just came back from Turkey. You have the
All right, all right. You see what I'm saying? Then he gets around. He's alluding, like, bruh, why are you being so elusive? Excuse me, elusive. Like, look, you're not answering the question. He said, give me some examples of ancient of that speaks 1,000% against the Bible. They didn't mention nothing of, like, where did he say that spoke against the Bible? All he mentioned was the fact that the Dogon people had star knowledge, way far advanced. How's that against the Bible? How's that against the Bible? Where in the Bible where's the how does that contradict anything said in the Bible? But let me show y'all something. It says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Let's look at this word was. It comes from haya, which means to exist. I'm gonna give y'all a second to look over that as I pull that very same app, which is Eastward, on my phone, which has a little bit more functions. I want y'all to think about why I went there. Give you a second. Mm. So, y'all see anything wrong with that translation? Anything wrong with this? Was, and the earth became. It says to exist. That is become. And so if we was use it in that particular in that particular context, and that's in the proper syntax would be became. The way that verse 2 is written, the proper syntax would be in it became, and the earth became without form and void. Do you know how much of a dramatic difference that is? Because if the earth became without form and void, that means at one point there was life there. But I ain't gonna stop there either. Let's continue on. It says without form, huh? Nah. I don't think that's the best. I don't think that's the that's not the same thing. You see that word right there? Tahu? Let's say that even if we could not determine what this word meant, but if we was able to determine this one, look, let's say I couldn't click on this. We know what this word means, tahu. It says to lie waste. Bro, in order for something to lie waste, in order to waste something, that means it must have been fruitful at some point. That's the first definition. Always start off with the first. Always start off with the root. Start off with the root word and then go into and then start off with the root definition. Then everything else. In order for something to lie waste, it must have been fruitful. In order for something to be spoiled, it must have been good at some point. In order for milk must have been good at some point, the milk was of good substance. In order for a fruit to rot, at one point it must have been ripe. It couldn't have been born a rotten fruit. Some fruit just come out rotten. But in order for it to be rot or spoiled, in order for it to be spoiled, the rotten fruit must have been ripe at some point. In order for the land to lie waste, the land must have at some point been a productive land. It couldn't have always been a desert. Now let's go to the next word. Ruin. It says vacuity. Let's go into the word vacuity. The definition of vacuity. The definition of vacuity. It says the lack of modern intelligence. Why would it say that? Why would intelligence be mentioned here? Hmm? Now let's go to the etymology. It says to leave, abandon, or give out. Bro, go look at the etymology. Go look at the etymology. It comes from EUA, which means to leave. to abandon. Did someone leave this planet? Was this planet abandoned at one point? Once it was what? In undistinguishable ruin? Mm. So when the earth became destructive and lied waste, it was then abandoned. God took this abandoned building and made it fruitful again. Don't make me step into Genesis 6. You don't need all these conspiracies to find out how deep this thing gets. It gets deeper than this. Levels to this thing, man. Study to show yourself approved unto God. Don't get lost in the sauce because it says if possible, they'll deceive the very elect.